Hey everyone, I'm going to talk about the Fenix 6 today. It's the new smartwatch from Garmin, sort of the top of the line. There's a bunch of different variations. There's like the S, the 6, the X, Sapphire, Solar. If you go to HikingGuy.com or if you go to the description of the video, I have a corresponding article where I'll break down in plain English what all of those models are and how to distinguish between them, and also some recommendations on which one is maybe best for you. But in this review, I have a Fenix 6X Pro Solar, and I'm going to focus on outdoors applications. So applications for hikers, hunters, people who use it outdoors. Now, this is a powerful training tool for like runners, athletes, and there's other videos that you can watch if you want to know how to, understand the training load and all those different fitness specific features. But what I'm going to go in today specifically is I'm going to talk about what makes this different from the other Fenix models and why it's better. I'm going to talk about the GPS performance, the battery performance, and how the solar works. And I'm going to walk you through some real world examples of how to navigate with it. So how to do waypoints, how to download a GPX file from a website and follow it on the Fenix 6X. So that's going to be the video. I also have, like I said, a corresponding article on HikingGuy.com that has more information and goes into some of the highlights of the other features and goes into depth on everything that I'm going to be talking about. So I do recommend that you check that out as well. But without further ado, let's dive into it. All right, so what's new on the Fenix 6 and 6 family of watches? First of all, it's a little more compact than the Fenix 5X Plus and the older models. The bezel is smaller. It's got a little more screen size. It's also a little more flush, so it doesn't snag. And what that means practically is if I have long sleeves on, it's easier just to get my sleeve in and out with the Fenix 6 on it. The battery life on the Fenix 6 line is definitely better than the previous models. Now it varies based on what you're using, and one of the things that I love about the new Fenix 6 is they have something called power saving modes, and I'll show you that in a little bit later in the battery section. But basically you can customize what you have on and what you don't have on so that you don't, if you don't want Bluetooth in a phone connection, it doesn't have to burn the battery down, and you can apply these power modes to different activities. It's pretty cool. Also, solar, obviously, it has an impact. It's not a huge impact, but it does, when you're hiking in daylight, it does offset your battery usage by a significant amount, and it does enhance the battery for a while. So battery is much, much better on the Fenix 6. The other thing that's a little bit better than the old Fenix models is the GPS. Now, the Fenix 6 has a new Sony GPS chipset. It seems to be a little more sensitive and has a little less dropouts than before. So it's also got GPS plus GLONASS, GPS plus Galileo, which is the European positioning satellite constellation. So you have options in terms of what you use. I'm going to talk about GPS in detail in a second, but overall, GPS is a little bit better. Another feature of the Fenix 6 that's a software feature is the new widget display. And before on the Fenix, you had to see one widget at a time and you scrolled through it. Now you can see 3 at a time. You click into it and you get detail of the widget, which is pretty cool. It just basically gives you more information in one glance than you'd have without having to scroll. One of the other things I love is the map mode. You can set different display types for the map. So you can have like a dark mode, a high contrast mode. It really helps you see the map on the screen better. Now, the screen is bigger than the Fenix 5X. It's 280 pixels by 280 pixels. The bezel is a little smaller, so you get more screen. But it does help to have those modes in order to see the map and the detail. Another cool thing is Climb Pro. And they used to have this for cycling. It's on there for hiking now. But it gives you a little visualization of the climb you're on. It shows you where you are, what the gradient is, and how much vertical and distance you have to go. Comes in handy. There's a ton of other features. There's like Garmin Pay. You can pay with your credit card using the watch. You can load music onto it and pair it with Bluetooth headphones. Whether it's worth the money or not for you is something you have to decide because it's not cheap. But let me walk you through some of the other stuff so you can see what it's like to navigate with it and what the GPS is like and the battery and all that fun stuff. So let's go. All right, so let's do a little walkthrough of the unit here. There's some buttons on the side, and that's how you navigate. Over here, you have the power button. If you hold this in, You can cycle through these options here, which are sort of like shortcuts. One of these is also the power off button. There it was. This is also the backlight button. So if you want the backlight on, you hit that. Otherwise, there's an up and down button. There's down, there's up, or down, up. This button goes in and this button goes back. So this is forward, this is back. And I can show you how we use those on the widgets. Now the widgets are another screen here. So if we go here, you can see that the widgets are now 3 on a page instead of just 1 on a page, which is handy. And you can customize these as well. You can edit them, you can edit the position, you can get third-party widgets. Now when you click into it, so this button, remember, is forward or click into, you get details and you can go up and down on the details here. Not each widget has all of these details. Some of them have different screens or just one screen. Like if we go to unproductive, if we go to solar intensity, I just get one visualization. Now you might have noticed to go back, I just hit this back button. So forward, back, up, or down, up, power. And that's how you navigate the entire watch. Now the most important thing probably is the activities, and the way you trigger the activities is you hit the forward button up here. And from here you can pick the activity that you like to do, and you can add activities, take them out, change the order of them, whatever you'd like to do. And there's a ton, and again, there's third-party apps that you can add to this, so you're not limited by what they have here. And once you are in an app, let's say we're going to do a hike, this bar up top tells us our GPS status, and there's our battery percentage. Okay, we just got a GPS fix. If we go up, we have options, so we can do courses, we can hike to different places, we can change the settings for this. Within an activity, you can go through to the different screens, and all of these screens are customizable. So this is all for hike. So when I'm hiking, I can access all of these different screens. And again, I can customize them. So if I hold this down, let's go to hike settings, data screens. I can edit the layout, what data is shown, all different types of things. One of the new features on the Fenix 6 is you can do 6 data fields because the screen is bigger. They're kind of small, but it is helpful if you want a lot on there. You can change the different data that's on here. There's all different types of data that you can do. And you can also get third-party widgets that allow you to display different data. So that's the layout of the watch and basically how you use it in a nutshell. So the other component of owning a Fenix watch, which is optional, but it does enhance your experience a lot, is signing up for a free Garmin Connect account. Garmin Connect is the cloud-based kind of data repository where all of your information from the watch is stored. And I mentioned earlier that there are other features. There's like sleep tracking, activity time, VO2 max, different training things. But if you're not interested in that, you just want to see your hikes, you can come on here and go through and take a look at your hiking activity here. And this is really helpful. You can see here I can get information from my elevation, my pace, my heart rate, the temperature, all different types of metrics for the hike. And you can also view this on the Garmin Connect app. The Garmin Connect app syncs with the Garmin Connect website, but it does help to have it on the screen. You can change the different layers here. So pretty cool tool in terms of post-hike analysis and looking at a hike and seeing where you went and what the different parameters were. So the Fenix 6 is also compatible with the Garmin Explore ecosystem. So Garmin Connect is more fitness and wellness based. Garmin Explore is more outdoors based, or navigation based, I should say. It's actually not as robust as Garmin Connect, but it is decent. You can see here I have a track that I recorded with my Fenix 6. I'm looking through a park here. There's different layers that I can take a look at, but in general, Garmin Connect is better for creating courses and navigating, which I'll show you a little bit later in the video. But you do have the option of using Garmin Explorer. And like Garmin Connect, it's web-based, and it's also a mobile app for Android and iOS. So you have it on your phone. You can sync your phone with the Fenix, and then it syncs up onto a cloud-based website where you can take a look at the data later on. You can see here I'm just drilling down onto the hike I did. You can see actually this is Fenix 6. The accuracy is pretty good. You can see I'm on the trail the whole way. So I'll show you some other tracks a little bit later, but this is Garmin Explorer, just something to be aware of if you have your Fenix 6. So the battery on the 6 is much bigger, and the battery size depends on which model you have. The bigger the model, the more battery you have. Now I have the 6X, which is the biggest one. I get 60 hours of activity tracking, plus more if there's solar. So just 60 on its own. So that's tracking hikes, tracking runs, whatever it might be. If I just have it in watch mode, it's 3 weeks between charges. If you go to the website, I have a chart on there that gives you the battery times for all the different models and what the drain is. There are extended modes, and you can tweak your watch to only use what you need it to do to tweak the battery. So let's look into that. Okay, so let's go into power modes. We're going to do that by going into the settings. So I'm going to hold this middle button down. Let me go up to Power Manager, Power Modes, and here I can have different power modes. Jacket mode means if you have your watch over your jacket, it doesn't have the heart rate monitor on. Thanks, Fly. And then I made a custom power mode called Hike, and you can add new ones. And we can just call this whatever, A, yes, and then we can tweak different options here, and it'll tell us the battery drain, how much more we get or lose. GPS, music, phone, wrist heart rate, so we can turn all of these things on or off. Pretty cool. Now when you want to actually use it, if we go back to a hike, so if I start or whatever, let's do a walk. Once I'm in the walk, if I go to the walk settings or power mode here, right under walk settings, I can choose which one I want to use, and then it'll apply that power mode to that activity. So pretty cool. The other thing that's neat is battery saver. Now battery saver is kind of like a power mode that works on the watch when it's in watch mode. So if we go to Power Manager, Battery Saver, you can turn it on or off. It tells you what you get with it. So 45 days with it on, 9 days off. I can set an alert. So this is helpful. If my battery goes low, I can come in here and turn it on if I want. Then similar to the power modes, you can go through and tweak all different types of settings. So that's battery saver. That's a sort of global setting, whereas a power mode applies to an activity specifically. All right, so let's talk about solar panel. First of all, you can see this little icon that's filling up there. That's the solar indicator. And each one of those notches is 10%. So right now it's getting a little bit of solar power, but if I angle this to the sun, there we go, boom, it's got 100. And there's a little graph underneath that shows me how much solar power I'm getting throughout the day. And the actual solar panel is this black line going around the watch face. So that's the main solar panel. Then the actual watch face, which is under Gorilla Glass, has a solar panel as well, but it's not as powerful as this solar panel around the side. That's the main solar panel. Now, how effective is it? Basically, if you're below the tree line and this is not at 100%, it's not too effective. When it's when you're hiking like in the desert or above the tree line and you have solar power coming in, it drains or it charges about 1% every 4 hours. Now, the drain on a typical activity is 1.5 to 2% an hour. So you could see you can really offset that. And especially if you're using a power mode where you have a lot of the things off, you could probably tweak this to work completely on solar while you're hiking, or mainly on solar, and really minimize your battery drain, which is a cool thing. Now, okay, so let's do a little battery test. I'm going to go for a walk. So let's walk for an hour and see if we go down from this 54%. Unfortunately, it doesn't give you another digit or two. Oh, 53. So we know it just turned 53. Perfect. So let's walk for an hour and see what happens. Also, just a note, as we go on this walk, I have this on normal power mode. Other thing to note is that I am on a sunny trail. I'm here in Southern California. There's not much in between the sun and myself, and this is on my arm here, and it's getting a decent amount of sunlight. I'm not in the shade, I'm in the sun, and this is similar to a hike if you were maybe above the tree line or in the desert or in coastal scrub. This is the type of hike you're going to get where you have the sun exposure. The sun is a little bit lower in the sky, but it is out, and I am walking with short sleeves on, and the watch has an unobstructed view to the sky as it pulls in some solar energy. Okay, so I'm just about 40 minutes in, and the percentage just went down to 52. So with the solar, it's roughly 1% every 40 minutes. So gives you an idea. And again, you can tweak it. I could turn off the Bluetooth, I could turn off the heart rate and do a more aggressive power mode and save even more. But just in the normal out of the box power mode, this is what you get in terms of battery drain and in terms of like a solar boost. So about a percentage every 40 minutes, every 1 percentage point every 40 minutes. Now there's also an activity called expedition mode, and it's an actual activity here. Expedition. What that will do is it will turn everything off aside from the GPS, and it'll take a GPS fix every hour, and you can tweak that to anywhere between 90 and 15 minutes. But if you're doing, say, like a through hike and you just want occasional track points to track your trip, this is a way to do it. And if I start this, and there we go, it's loaded a couple track points and it's saving it, and it'll turn the display off in a second. And that's how it works. So if you want to do long-term tracking and have an occasional, reference point, if you want to look at a map when you're through hiking just to check your position, this will work for that in expedition mode. All right, let's talk about GPS. Now, this has the Sony GPS chipset in there. You do need to update the firmware. So the first thing I would do when you get the Fenix 6 is update the firmware to the latest. The GPS software gets better as it goes on. And if you look at some of the older reviews from when it first came out, there's some lower ratings. They say it doesn't get GPS signal. It does. You just need to update it and make sure you're good there. But in general, I found the Fenix 6 to be a much more sensitive receiver than my 5X Plus. What that means is I can get a signal better from a GPS satellite and get my position better. Less dropouts, especially in canyons or wooded areas. This seems to perform better. Now, it doesn't perform as well as my GPS Map 66i, which is a handheld GPS, but it's pretty damn close. There's some things you can do to make it better. Once you turn it on, there's something called GPS soak, where you just let it sit for 2 minutes at least, and what that'll do is it'll pick up more satellites. The more satellites you can get a fix on, the more precise your position will be. And generally, you're going to look for around like 10 feet. That's a really good fix, GPX fix. There's also a thing Garmin has called an EPO file, and that's a prediction of where all satellites are. So if you sync your phone with your Fenix 6 before you start your activity, that will get loaded onto the Fenix 6, and it will get satellite positions faster. So it's not going to make your accuracy better. It's going to make it quicker to get that picked up. One of the other things you might want to do too is turn on minute-by-minute track recording instead of smart recording. Smart recording looks at different factors like your speed and your elevation to decide when it should take a track point, whereas minute-by-minute does it every minute. It takes up more space, maybe a little bit more battery, but it does have a lot of space on the watch, and if you can spare the space, you do get a better fidelity track on that. Last thing in terms of GPS is, do you use GLONASS? Do you use Galileo? Do you just use GPS? And there's probably nothing more controversial than the combination to use there. I've looked at hundreds of tracks of mine over the years using all of them. None of them won. There's no rhyme or reason to it. I generally use GPS and Galileo. Galileo is a European satellite constellation. By 2020, there's going to be 30 in the sky. In addition to the 24 GPS satellites, gives you 54 satellites of coverage. Satellites are not always operational, so that gives you some redundancy. Now, GLONASS has better coverage in the higher latitudes. Some people get good results with GLONASS. All I would say is try. You could just use GPS too, save a little battery if you're in a place like Southern California where you always have a pretty decent clear line of sight. You might just get away with GPS. I just do GPS and Galileo. In general, anecdotally, the tracks seem to be a little bit better over time. But again, I would just say pick your poison and run with it. So let's look at some of the tracks on the Fenix 6 compared to the 66i and some other scenarios. Fenix 6. Here's one from the hike in the video that you're about to see, overlaid on a satellite map, and I have a link to this on the website article too, so you can poke around on this yourself. But you can see that it's got me pretty much on the trail, and that's good here almost the whole way. I'm not in any kind of deep canyon or anything here, but overall it looks good. And this is the Fenix. So this is a kind of a standard hike scenario. Some of the other ones I have on here are a little less standard. Here's a track on the Fenix 6 out and back in the Grand Canyon. Now you can see here, let me show you over here where it's has a little bit of a clearer line of sight. You can see I'm on the trail, and that's good. And it's pretty much the same out and back. It breaks up a little bit when I'm going down here below this canyon wall, and you can see there's some differences back and forth because it's not getting a great fix when I'm down there. Now, more dramatically is this one. So let me start with the good. When I'm out with a clear line of sight, this is an out and back on the Fenix, you can see I'm on the trail and it's almost exactly in the same position on my out and back. But when I'm climbing up along the cliffs of Bright Angel, I get this pretty horrible dropout here. Now you'd think that the Garmin software would know that, I'm not traveling that far from doing an activity like hiking and would try to smooth it out. Maybe that's something they can release in future software, but it does struggle here when I am in the shadow of this cliff. And this is probably because the satellite's line of sight is all over here, and I'm in a place where I can't get it. Now, in fairness, this would probably occur, some form of this would probably occur with any handheld GPS because I am next to a pretty steep cliff here. So if all you do is hike in the Grand Canyon along the cliffs, this might not be the move for you, but I can live with this. Now, let me show you side by side with the GPS map 66i, and this is in the wild environs of a shopping mall and office park, but I wanted to go through some buildings so you could see how it does in relation to a 66i. The 66i is in red, the Fenix is in purple, and you can see it's kind of okay. I'm in the shadow of these tall buildings here, so it's struggling. They're both struggling a little bit. And then when I get into the open here, look at this. They're both pretty spot on. I'm on the sidewalk. But again, they struggle. I'm going around some taller buildings here, multi-story buildings. You can see the Fenix here actually does pretty well, but then kind of dies, has a lot of GPS drift here, whereas the 66i is a little bit better. And then they both struggle to kind of find out where they are as I walk back through that section. But then once I'm in the clear again, here they are, they're spot on. Here I'm walking under some buildings and pavilions. The 66i does a little bit better. And then walking through the mall, also underneath, it's almost like a canyon effect here. And underneath some overhangs, You can see the struggle a bit. One thing to note here, there's a thing called nesting. So if you stop with your Fenix 6, I recommend that you pause your activity. And what that'll do is it will avoid a situation like this where I'm in one place. Here I was here for 3 minutes, and it's getting GPS points with varying accuracy, and it's obviously going to add some extra distance onto this because it's getting these sort of errant points here. And you can see the GPS map 66i knew to not do that and just stopped while I was stopped here. So that gives you an idea. And again, this is sort of a worst case stress test here. Most of the time the trails are more like this, where it's just sort of spot on, it works well, and you're looking good. So if you're a hiker or outdoors person, you're going to be using this to navigate. So let's go through some of the key concepts, and I'll show you how to use this as a navigation tool. Okay, so I'm in Garmin Connects, and I'm going to create a course that we're going to hike after we send it to the Fenix 6. So under training, there's courses. I've already teed the map up to where I want to do the hike. I'm going to go ahead and go create course, and we can choose different activities here. Let's choose hiking, custom, continue, and now you can see I have some tools here that allow me to create a course, but it's very simple. Basically what you do is you click on a part of a trail, then you click on a part of another trail, and it will automatically route you on the trail. So let's go ahead and create a little loop here, and you can see as I'm clicking on these points, it's automatically putting the course onto the trail, and it's also giving me this elevation plot, and you can see here it'll trace around the course, which is neat. Let's give this a name. Now one other little feature you can add in there is add a course point, and what that lets you do is kind of set a little alarm or a waypoint for when you're on the course. And you can see here there's different things. There's bathrooms, food, water, genericas, not bathrooms. You could add bathrooms, summit. Let's do summit because we can see there's a little summit there. And the way you add this on there is you simply click on the trail at a certain point, but it's a little tricky. You have to wait for the hand to be a little pointer like that. And you can see there it is. I want to kind of get it up a little bit, so let's see if I can drag it. There we go. That's a little bit better. Set point. Now I should get an alarm when it comes up to the summit there. So let's go ahead and save this course. Now you can do this in the Garmin Connect mobile app too. It's just a little bit tougher. It's a little bit easier to do it on the website. You can also change the different maps here. We can change it to OpenStreetMap. We can change it to a satellite. Whatever we want to do. So let's go ahead and send this to the device, but we're going to send it from the Garmin Connect app, which will sync it directly to the device. If I hit send to device here, it will want to bring up Garmin Express, which is the tool used to sync a computer with the device. You can do that too, but I'm lazy, so let's do it on the app so it goes through on Bluetooth and I don't have to pull out a cable. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so you pull up the Garmin Connect app, and then you go to training, courses, and boom, there it is. Here we can see it on the map. Then we're going to pick up the options, send to device, choose the device, and then it will send, and the next time that you sync it, it will be on the watch. All right, so I'm at the trailhead right now, so let's go ahead and start the hike. Now you can see this is red up there. That means I don't have a GPX fix, so it's going to need to get a fix before we start. Let's go up for options. And you can see I can do several things from the hike options, and this is the same for all the activities. Let's go to courses, and let's find, there it is, Crystal Cove Blue Route. Do course. There's course started. We're going to start our hike. And you can see it's giving me a nice little purple line there that I need to follow, and it's it's going to be, there's my Climb Pro. So this is the first climb, which I'm on right now, where I'm going to be starting. I just got my GPX fix. And you can see that it's telling me we need to go this way. As I move, it's working. There's the trail. There we go. So that's how you do a course. So let's hike a little bit and see what happens when we get to our first turn. All right, so let's talk about waypoints. Now I just saw a coyote run across the trail here, so let's save this as a waypoint. Now waypoints on the Fenix 6 are called saved locations, just like the other Fenixes. I hold the power button in like this, and then I could do save location. And it's telling me the coordinates here, and I'm gonna hit start to save. And then from here, I can edit it. I can edit the name. I can edit the icon. Different things here. Pretty cool. Let's see. Little animal. Okay, so now that location is saved, I can use it to navigate, and I can also load it to the Garmin Explorer website and save it offline. If I want to work with it on the computer, I can do that. All right, so let's take a look at the Climb Pro feature. You can see right now, I'm going up a climb, and this is created automatically by Garmin when you do a course. So you can't do these on the fly, but when you import a course, it'll figure out automatically what the climbs are and give you a little readout of how far you've gone, how much you have left in terms of distance, and also elevation gain, and it'll also give you your vertical speed in terms of how much you're climbing as you go. So it's a pretty cool little visualization, and as you go up the climb, this thing will update accordingly. So that's Climb Pro. I've actually I thought it was kind of gimmicky at first, but I end up using it when I do create courses and send them to my watch. It's nice, especially on the longer climbs, just to pace yourself and to kind of get an idea of what's up ahead. Okay, so here we are at a junction. Now, there's not really a right or left turn here, right? It's kind of a split, so it's probably going to get confused because we don't have a hard turn. But you can see on the map here, there's the sunlight, that it's telling us to go to the right. So let's just see what happens if we took the wrong path. But again, I could always just look at this and say, oh, I'm taking the trail to the right. But let's just say we're not looking at the map and we take the trail to the left, and let's see what happens. Okay, off course. So it's giving me an alert. It's a little bit down there, probably 2 or 3 minutes. But let's head back down on course and see what it says. Okay, we're coming back up to the junction here. So let's see when it tells me that I'm in the right place. And it should give me a little notification. There we go, on course. So you see, we had a course, we went off of it, and it helped us get back to where we needed to be. All right, so as long as we're here, let me just show you some of the other screens and features that are helpful when you're navigating on a hike. So this is a standard data screen. You can have a bunch of these, and these are all customizable. These are just fields that I find relevant. So I have those. These are all the same. I have a compass page. I have the map, which is on the navigation, plots, Climb Pro. And then I have my sort of navigation bug compass heading. So this tells me the distance to the next and direction that I need to go. Then also you have this overall elevation plot of the hike that gives you your current position, how much you've done so far, and how much you have to go. And then back to the data fields. So that's what you get. So there's a lot of tools at your disposal if you want to know what's going on the hike. All right, 61 feet. We make the right ski. That's how it works.
Now you can also create GPX files or download them from websites and bring them into the Fenix as courses. So let me show you how to do that. I'm on caltopo.com, which is a great website if you're not familiar with it, for creating routes and maps and all that fun stuff. So let's just create a simple little hike from the parking lot here. From here, whatever, down to there. And we'll call it Fenix 6 GPX test. And we'll save it. So let's save it. And now I have the URL for this, and we'll load it up on the phone and then transfer it to the Fenix. So here I am on mobile. Here's the course that we just created, and let's download the GPX from here onto our phone. And you can do this with any website that allows a GPX download. So if you're on My Hiking Guides on Hiking Guy, you can download the GPX file and do this the same way. So once I've downloaded it, I'm on an iPhone. It goes into my Files app. On Android, it'll be a little bit different. But we're going to select the file and then share it and then do copy to connect. And that will bring the GPX file up in Connect. We choose the activity. There's no hiking, so I just do other. And you can see there it is. It has saved it. And then we send it to the device just like we do a normal route. And then it will be on the Fenix for us to follow and navigate.
All right, so let's follow that GPX track. Let's go into hike. Let's go up to options. And then it was under courses. I think it was called course new. There we go. Do course. There you can see there's a purple line. Course started. We just start our hike. And we walk on that line along the trail. And that's how it goes. Now when you go off of that purple line, it will give you an off course notification. When you come back on, it'll give you an on course notification. So that's how you follow a GPX track. Pretty simple. All right, so this will also calculate a route on the fly for you. So you don't necessarily have to pre-plan on the computer beforehand. And you can do this with any activity. If you go into the settings for the activity and you go to navigation, you can see here we can go to all different types of places. We can also create courses, so we can find multiple places to go to and create like a course like we did on the website. But let's go to the waypoint that we saved earlier, and there it is, saved locations. And there's the waypoint. We'll click on it. Let's hit go to. And there it's calculated the route for us. And from here we can just hit start. And now it's tracking a hike, and we just follow the arrow and the line, and we can go to our waypoint or any of these other points of interest that are around us. And just so you can see, if you want to see some of the points of interest, there's all different types of things. There's food, there's hospitals, everything that you'd find sort of on a pre-baked Garmin map, and those are all the ones that are loaded in there. You can also just go around the map and find one. You can ask for ones that are close to you. So a lot of different options when you're creating a sort of course on the fly or a navigation on the fly. You can also follow a track back to where you started. So if you've hiked on a bunch of trails or been hunting and sort of bushwhacking and you want to go back, you can follow your track line back to where you are. And that's it. And you can also follow old activities that you've done before. So if you did a run or something and you want to go back and do it, you can. You can also project a waypoint in the distance. So we can look this way, project that way. And we can also put coordinates in. So we can put lat and long. Oh. Or use the map once again. So a lot of different options when you're navigating on the fly with the Fenix 6. So that's the Fenix 6. Now, should you get it? If you have an older watch, if you have like a Fenix 3 or 5, and you're okay with it, there's nothing groundbreaking on this that makes that watch obsolete. If you're getting along with the older watch, it's gonna be fine. If you have the money to spare or you want the latest and greatest, this is a great watch. I've had it on my wrist since the day it came out. I wear it 24/7. I use it for everything from fitness to sleep tracking, Garmin Pay. It's cool. I love it. And, you know, it's a good watch. It's a solid buy. And also, if you're buying a new hiking watch and you have the money, if you buy this one, it'll last you for a while. If you're buying a new watch and you don't want to spend this much, check out the Garmin Instinct. And I have a link to that in the article in this review. But that's another good watch. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but will still let you track your hikes and also follow a track. If you don't know how to follow a track on the watch, I have a guide to that on Hiking Guy. And like I said earlier, I have a full complimentary article on HikingGuy.com that dives deeper into some of the topics that we talked about in the video. There's a link to that underneath of the video, so please go there. If you've enjoyed the video and you want to say thanks, please buy this watch through one of my links on the website or in the description. I get a little commission. It helps me offset the costs of the website. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you have a question, something I didn't cover that you want to hear about, just leave me a comment and I will answer it in the comments. So Fenix 6, cool toy, cool toys for big boys and girls. Anyway, guys, I'll see you out on the trail. Bye.